It is a tremendous honor to be here tonight. Of course, I want to say what a privilege it is to be honored with the other amazing women who are being honored tonight for their tremendous sacrifice and effort for all on behalf of the spiritual, the mind, the body, and the spirit of all women and of all people. I became aware of the LGBT Center here in New York City shortly after I moved here. Actually, 6 months before I moved here, I was in New York City looking for an apartment. And my best friend, Chuck, who is here with me tonight, who is an openly gay man on Wall Street, which when he came out, that wasn't easy for him to do either. But we walked past the center, and he said, "Shells, you're going to want to know this building. You're going to want to know what's inside of this building." And he explained it to me, and I stood outside, and I was afraid to go in because I wasn't out at the time. Little would I know that a couple of years later, the center would become so important to me, and the people within the walls of the center, Glenda and her staff, would become very important, special, dear friends to me. I confided in Glenda shortly before I came out, and her partner Jema as well, that I was about to come out publicly, and I started to understand what community meant. I started to understand what it was like to be completely known, and it was wonderful. I'd spent 20 years in Nashville making records and writing songs and being halfway in a community. Nobody knew me. I was in it. They thought I was all the way in it, but I realized once I started to make real friends in New York City that nobody knew me in 20 years of Nashville. And here I was 6 months into New York City, and it felt so good to be known. And that's what it feels like to be included in a community. So I started to understand why these centers are important, because the doors become unlocked and opened, and people start to reach out and lock arms and move forward together. And that's why we're here tonight. I've been out for a year and about 5 months, and I've had a lot of people say a lot of things about my coming out as the first openly gay country music singer. And one of the things that people have said about me or to me is, "Wow, Shelley, must have been even more difficult for you to come out than for anybody else in the world who's ever come out." And I even think there was a part of me that at one time believed that. But now that I know my community, now that I'm out there in the world coast to coast, talking to people like me, I understand that that is not true. It wasn't more difficult for me. It was just different, because we all have a public. We all have a fan base. Whether the situation is that you're a teacher and you have a fan base of 20 students, whether you are a favored postal carrier in your town and you have a fan base of 200 to whom you deliver the mail, whether you are in the military and you have a public of 200 in your battalion, we all have a public. And when we decide to tell our story, the stakes are the same. It's relative. And what I came to understand is that it is incumbent upon those of us who have a voice, if you have a public of 20, 200, or 2 million, to tell our stories. And I don't want to pull a Rick Perry by forgetting, but there's been a favorite phrase of mine, a quote, if you will, that's really been on my mind this week due to all of the Penn State stuff. But it's the quote that I started my memoir, Like Me, with. And I'd like to close. First of all, I'd like to say, again, thank you for having me. But I'd like to close with a quote by Martin Luther King. He said that history will have to record that the greatest tragedy of this period of social justice will mark honey, give me my phone. I have it on my phone. I did pull a Rick Perry. History, I'm not even going to try it. I saw what Rick Perry did. Give me my phone. It happens. History will have to record that the greatest tragedy of this period of social transition was not the strident clamor of the bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people. And again, as I come to know and grow closer to my community, and sit here and stand and dine and have fellowship with my community tonight, I'm so honored to know that I am with the good people who would never be silent when someone is hurting. Thank you.